Left Out by Rogan, 3 comedians who lost the mothership and what it cost them. In the unforgiving world of stand-up comedy, there exists a golden gate through which only a select few pass. A shimmering portal of exposure, virality, and sold-out venues. The gate is Joe Rogan's comedy Mothership, a neon-lit sanctuary in Austin where comedic careers are made, reborn, and occasionally denied entry. For comedians today, getting Rogan's approval is like striking oil in the middle of the desert. One mention on the Joe Rogan Experience, one slot on that coveted Mothership stage, and suddenly your YouTube numbers skyrocket. Your ticket sales triple, and your name becomes currency in a marketplace fueled by followers, podcast clips, and algorithmic magic. But here's the catch. If Rogan opens the door for you, the world leans in. If he closes it or never opens it at all, you're left pounding on the glass, hoping someone notices. This isn't just about favoritism. It's about power, platform, prestige. And the 3 comedians we're examining today, Carlos Mensia, Esther Coup, and Chris D'Elia, know exactly what it means to be left outside the velvet rope. Their stories aren't just cautionary tales. They're a window into how modern comedy functions and what happens when one man's influence becomes a cultural lever. So stick around, because the mothership might float in Austin, but its gravity pulls from coast to coast. Part 1. Carlos Mensia. Carlos Mensia was once a heavyweight on the comedy circuit, filling arenas and headlining prime-time comedy specials. But in 2007, Joe Rogan called him out, live on stage at the Comedy Store, for allegedly stealing jokes from George Lopez and others. Rogan confronted Mensia with a mic in his hand and fire in his eyes. The video went viral before viral was a strategy, and just like that, Mensia was branded with a comedic scarlet letter. Rogan didn't just take a stand, he took away the microphone. Mensia was quietly but firmly exiled from Rogan's sphere. He never appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience, never earned a spot at the comedy Mothership, and in many ways, never recovered the credibility that confrontation stripped away. Without Rogan's blessing, Mensia found himself adrift in a world that had recentered itself around authenticity, originality, and accountability. His downfall was more than a meme. It was a masterclass in how one voice can reshape public perception and how exclusion from that ecosystem can silence even the loudest acts. Part 2. Esther Coup. Then there's Esther Coup, a comic with undeniable charisma, a sharp wit, and a knack for staying fearless on the mic. She broke through in the late 2000s, appeared on Last Comic Standing, and even guested on Rogan's podcast back in 2015. But that was it. One and done. Since then, she's been absent from the Rogan rotation. No returns to the show, no invites to the mothership, no inclusion in the digital back and forth that powers today's comedy circuit. It's not that Coup stopped performing. She's continued to grind, touring, podcasting, making waves. But without Rogan's amplification, she's had to build her audience brick by brick, while others were given rocket fuel. In a world where a single 10-second podcast clip can catapult a comic into mainstream relevance, Coup's absence from Rogan's sphere has meant missing out on the exponential visibility others have enjoyed. Her story proves that even tenacious comedians can struggle to break through if they're not handed the mic in the room that matters most. Part 3. Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia, by contrast, was once a fixture in Rogan's comedy universe, a regular podcast guest, touring monster, and social media favorite, until his world collapsed in 2020 amid serious allegations of inappropriate behavior. Though he was never charged criminally, the fallout was fast and severe. Spotify removed his episodes from the Joe Rogan Experience, and Rogan has kept his distance ever since. No Mothership gigs, no shoutouts, no path back into the elite circle that once helped D'Elia pack theaters. For someone who built a career on internet virality and podcast personality, losing Rogan's endorsement was like losing his passport to the digital comedy economy. He's still performing and still recording, but the difference between building on Rogan's platform and going it alone is night and day. D'Elia now walks that darker path, unlit, unboosted, and largely uninvited. Part 4. The Power of Being Left Out. Let's be clear, the comedy Mothership is more than just a club. It's an influencer factory. According to 2023 reports, comedians who landed a Mothership set often see up to a 300% growth in social media followers and a 40% spike in ticket sales within just a few weeks. The place isn't just a venue, it's a launch pad. And if you're not on the list, you're not in orbit. That's what makes being left out so heavy. For Carlos Mensia, it cost his legacy. For Esther Coup, it limited her reach. And for Chris D'Elia, it's been a slow grind back through fog and silence. Each story is a different flavor of exclusion, but the outcome is similar. Without Rogan's platform, even the most talented comics have to climb without the rope. In the end, this story isn't just about Rogan, it's about his gravity. In the comedy universe, he's not just a performer, he's a planet. Orbiting him means warmth, visibility, momentum. Falling out of his orbit, cold space. Carlos Mensia had his mic taken by fire. Esther Coup never got a second invite. Chris D'Elia lost his seat at the table when the stakes got real. Each of them is still standing, but none of them are thriving in the Rogan economy. Their stories remind us that acceptance isn't just about friendship, it's a professional force multiplier. And exclusion, that's not just a closing door, it's a ceiling. But hey, comedy is a game of survival. Maybe you never get the Mothership spotlight. Maybe Rogan never calls, but that doesn't mean you stop. It just means you light your own fire and build your own gravity, because sometimes the best stages are the ones you build yourself. If this story gave you something to think about, smash that like button, drop a comment with the comedian you think deserved better, and hit subscribe so you never miss the stories behind the spotlight. And if you're out there grinding with no invite, just remember, not every legend needed a lift. Some built the damn rocket from scratch.